Hello everyone. Today is the beginning of the end. After I make this last video, I would officially explained all 15 of my stories. And yeah, I mean, it's just crazy, right? I started this whole journey like yesterday, making all of these different plots. My phone is nearly dead again. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we have two stories for you today. We have Dear Neo's Ring, and we have Dear Horrorcore. Okay. Now, Dear Neo's Ring sees a topman like 1,000 years in the future, while Dear Horrorcore is about Topman as a monster. Buckle up. And the reason why I have two in these videos is because these stories are heavily underdeveloped right now. They're in no way finished. So bear with me for this whole time. Speaking kind of a low volume because I got family. Yeah, I'm gonna have to censor that face. I'm kind of ugly. But before we get into the final videos, I want to say my thanks. So thank you to anyone who has made it through the other videos all the way to here. There's a playlist down below in case this is your first video. I have been explaining each and every one of my stories, and I'll be editing every video, all that, it doesn't matter. But I'm just so grateful and thankful to anyone who has even watched all of the videos. And to those of you who actually did send your emails, subscribe, leave a comment. I'm forever just grateful to you guys, and thank you so much. Without further ado, let's hop into Dear Ring. Neo's Ring. So long time ago, there was this dude. We'll call him the Demon King. There was a lone hero who stood against the evil force for his grandfather. And with his own sword and effort and heroic might, he slayed the beast and all of his armies, saving the soul of his grandfather and saving the world. He was never given the praise he deserved, and as soon as he saved the world, he vanished. This hero who saved us from the Demon King was Topman. And stories were told about him for years, decades to come. And now we cut to 1,000 years after the battle has already been fought. A group has emerged trying to resurrect the evil king. A massive cult following was born, and a sub-part of that group went to find resources to further their mission, only to find a house floating in the ocean. They had heard tales of Topman, of how he defeated the Demon King, but that was 1,000 years ago. They thought, but that was 1,000 years ago. They went to inspect the house, only to see it empty. They were relieved. However, there was something behind these thugs, a face that was supposed to never appear again. Topman. In his battle 1,000 years ago, he learned immortality and used his time to rewatch shows, read manga, and read comics. Since he never got to before he, ventured out to fight the Demon King. However, Topman at this point has somewhat lost his mind from being 1,000 years old. This Topman is more powerful than any other Topman I've ever talked about in the beginning. He has already defeated the main crest. He's lived for 1,000 years without stop. And so the story of Topman begins anew as he tries to stop the Demon King from forming again. It's like, imagine dying to some kid 1,000 years ago, and then when your followers try to bring you back, that same kid is still alive and he's trying to stop you again. Only this time he has all of his powers still. I'm talking mad. Oh my gosh, I can't speak. I can't speak. Anyway, now this story in particular is kind of difficult to write for. Simply because of the fact that, you know, I'm writing for such an overpowered character. I have to handle this very, you know, delicately, because I'm writing for the most overpowered character. So not only do I have to make the villains believable enough to beat him, but, you know, he also has that secret power, which I mentioned before, which actually I think I'm going to talk about here. I'm going to talk about the main power system of my series. Now, the main power system for my whole series is going to be called Doki Doki. Now, Doki Doki has 3 different acts. You have Doki Doki Part 1, which is, you can change your body into any biological thing. Like, shapeshift your body into any biological thing. So you can grow 2 arms, you can turn into someone else's face, you can turn into leaves, since leaves are living organisms. You can grow a giant fish arm, and all that. However, the reason Doki Doki is not like the shapeshifting is because you have to have a very special attachment to it. It's called Doki Doki, and if you don't know Doki Doki, I think it's like a Japanese phrase for like love, like. So your heart has to really be connected to the thing you're shapeshifting into. So if you could technically, and this happens in like the beginning story, Topman is fighting one of the gods, and one of the gods actually, you know, really appreciates Topman. It doesn't have to be love. It just has to be a deep connection. They've never used Doki Doki before. So after, you know, really growing this admiration for Topman, in the middle of the fight, they turn into Topman. So Doki Doki can be a blessing and a curse. You just need to like master it, master your emotions, and master your attachments so you don't, you know, turn into the wrong thing. There's so many applications for this. The second act of Doki Doki is turning your object into any non-biological thing, like glass, fire, wormholes, planets. And I think you can see how that quickly gets into overpowered territory. But the reason is, but you can still defeat someone who has like a black hole as an arm, because of the core fact that Doki Doki is something that you have to be emotionally attached to. Like, you really have to love this thing to the very core of your essence, or just be very connected to it in some type of emotional setting for it to even work in any format. So no, there isn't going to be like anyone who can just transform into someone who can immediately beat the main character. And even if there was Topman, there's so many applications. I wanted to quickly talk about that leaf thing from before. There's a character in the classic series who uses the power of the forest, the whole forest. So they had like a experience when they were a child, when they were dropped off in the forest. The forest, after running away from home, and they spent like years there, and eventually they were able to turn their body into like a forest dimension. So if they touched you, you would get sent into like his own forest dimension, which is inside of him. There's so many applications of Doki Doki. So many, and they're so different as well. There are some things that you can do with Doki Doki which is core to the plot. And obviously, that's the system that everyone uses 100 years in the future. 1,000 years in the future, after the story becomes legend. And everyone's trying to piece together what happened. Anyway, let's talk about the characters for Dear Neosring. So let's start off with Topman, right? The main character. He's unhinged, but he's still the adventurous guy that you know and love from all of the other stories. And then there's the grandfather, who I have not thought of yet. These are very primitive, very like condensed stories with underdeveloped characters so far. So because of that, we're gonna move straight on to Dear Horrorcore. So in Dear Horrorcore, humans are at odds with monsters, which one day randomly showed up into the human world. And groups of specialized people have been made to stop the Halloween monsters. We have Draculas, we have Frankensteins, we have all that. And finally, after making it through, they finally made it to the main dungeon. The main throne room of the King of Monsters, whose title is Grandfather. The King of Monsters calls himself Grandfather. I hope you can see where this is going. So anyway, during the fight with the Grandfather, he slices and dices all the humans, like Sukuna style. He uses a new spell, a new move, because he was actually getting pushed back a lot. And so he breaks out of it and uses his new spell. And it chops up all of the humans. And he thinks he won. However, all the pieces, like the separate pieces of human, form into one thing. A humanoid person. So an arm from like another person in the team attaches to like the torso, and it just forms into a human being or a human-like form. And they call this form Topman, our main character. He has scars and stitches, obviously, because he's made up of a bunch of different people. But the grandfather, now weak and unsure of what his spell has done, runs away, and Topman is taken back to the government holding cell. And Topman, in this universe, is an acronym. Topmin. Now, I haven't thought about what they mean yet, because this is an underdeveloped story. But trust me, it's going to have multiple meanings for multiple different people. So now Topman is born and the story begins. You can decide which side you want to be on. Do you want to be a monster? Do you want to be a human? I bit my tongue really badly, like before. Yeah, there's gonna be storylines about you needing to be a detective and like hunt down pumpkin people, stopping a suspect. It can go anywhere. Anyway, once again, these characters are underdeveloped, so character right now is very scarce. But I do know like rough lines of where I want to go with the story. And anyway, though, that was gonna be my last two stories. Once again, those two are underdeveloped. If you continue to support me, I might be able to, I will be able to make more developments in these stories, if these stories aren't the one which are dropped. Which, once again, you guys get to decide. I'll link a Google form down below. But, I don't know what you guys are gonna like, or if you think the concept of a bunch of specialized humans turning into one person is cool, or seeing an 100-year-old, no, 1,000-year-old topman roam the world. I don't know what you guys think is gonna be cool. I'm excited to find out. I really want to connect with you guys and not talk into this empty void anymore. But yeah, those were my last two stories. I hope that I've done some justice to myself by finally correcting the wrongs which I did in my third video on the channel, where I tried to explain my stories and fumbled so badly because I didn't have a script ready. But now that I do, yeah, I hope this is good. Once again, it costs like nothing to support me. I think I've said that like 1,000 times now, but I really want to hammer home like this message that it really doesn't take anything to support me, really. And especially in the beginning stages, like, there's really nothing wrong with it. Unless you really don't mess with any of the stories, you don't mess with my previous writing, you don't mess with my art style. And if you just don't mess with anything about me, I might actually promote one of these videos, because I need one of these to like be seen by like a lot of people. So yeah, if you see this as an ad, just trust. Anyway, that will be it. Now, I am gonna say something controversial right now at the end of the video. So please, I know this isn't a very reasonable thing to say, or really socially, like, I'm just turning into degenerosity with that line, but I know this is a very controversial take. And I know, some of you guys might hate me for this, but I have to get this off I have to say this. Can we please be respectful in the comments? I've seen a lot of comments over the years, and sometimes the comments are some of the worst things about a video. Obviously, I want to see your comments, but can we please be respectful? And like, I know likely this might get like 0 views, but in the case that it doesn't get 0 views and people do actually see it and see the whole thing and actually share the video and show it to a wide group of people, I just want to say, can we please be respectful in the comments? Let's not have any of this, weird stuff that I keep seeing on social media. And when I say weird stuff, I mean like the whole unemployment memes and stuff like the true la 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 la, and like, fire emojis are good as well. It boosts engagement, and any comment which boosts engagements really helps. Even if you don't, want to sign up or anything, just a fire emoji probably helps boost the algorithm for me. So that's amazing. But at the end of the day, let's be respectful. Let's show honest questions. Don't try to be fun. I mean, you can try to be funny. I like jokes. What I mean is, like, I saw like this one like Instagram clip, and it was of this guy who was just skateboarding, and then a bunch of people in the comments were like, yeah, you don't know how to take care of your son. Pack it up, bro. Get a third job. Yeah, I would prefer not to see any of that in the comments. Just honest questions about the comic. If you have questions for me, I'm welcome to answer them as well. But yeah, I know that the internet is filled with negativity, and that's like one of the issues with joining the internet. And if there is negativity, I will just take on the chin, and I won't try and run away from you. But yeah, I prefer if we were all just respectful and thought about our comments before we actually type them in. I know that sounds like I'm your dad or something, but I'm not. I'm just trying to not have tasteless comments in the comment section. Um, and I just keep going on about comments. Like, there's no need to mindlessly glaze or hate or hatefully hate. At the end of the day, I respect your decisions. I hope you respect mine. And I know this is dragging on, so I will end it here. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey of explaining all of my comments. Probably in some of the videos while I'm editing, it might just be tiresome to some of you guys. So once again, apologies for that. I'm just trying to explain. Laters, and I will see you on any future videos that I try to make. Future videos will be coming.